Ever wanted to create some amazing Star Wars artwork in 2D? Let me show you how. Okay, so we start with a solid color adjustment layer. This is going to be the background, and I'm going to actually use a gradient because I want the top and the bottom half to look slightly different. So you want to think about the location. We're on Tatooine. This is a very sandy planet, so I want the colors to reflect the colors you would see on a sandy planet from the foreground to potentially the sky. So these are the colors I landed on. Now I want to start looking at the foreground elements. Now on Tatooine, obviously, I want to add the mud huts. And you know they have a very distinctive shape. Obviously, it's a round on top. It's got the doorway opening type thing. We want to add or make sure that it looks kind of right to the show, obviously. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Now I need to decide what color tone, so kind of color tone range my entire image is going to have, because I'm going to choose one color and then going to vary that color between the different layers in terms of its brightness and its saturation, and that's it. It's going to be the same color. It's just going to be either brighter, darker, or slightly different in the tone, ever so slightly, so it looks right. And to do this in the color picker, you can find a tone and then just change the brightness or the saturation of that one single tone, so we don't need to do anything else really. Every layer that we add from now onwards is going to be the same color, just slightly brighter, and maybe the saturation is going to be taken down depending on whereabouts it's going to be in the image. So now I've got this picture of Luke. This is a silhouette that I had, and we are going to put this onto our picture, reposition it and resize it. It's going to get the same color tone as the layer it's currently on, because obviously in the terms of focal plane, he's on the same focal plane as our foreground element, so he's going to be the same color. I hope that makes sense. Now I'm going to start adding the layers behind Luke. These are going to incorporate mountains. Now, any Star Wars fans out there, please don't comment that there are no mountains or major mountains on Tatooine. There aren't really any in the area of Luke's home on Tatooine. And in all the pictures we see of Luke looking off into the distance like this, there are no real background elements to those posters. But this is my interpretation. I'm doing this for me, not for all of you Star Wars fans out there who want to have a go at me, so please don't comment. All I'm doing now is choosing a colour for the background. It's actually the same colour as what we've got before. We're just going to change the saturation and the brightness ever so slightly. Clearly it's further away, so it's going to be slightly brighter than the foreground we have where Luke is. Now I've decided that the cabin, the sort of hut area, should be on its own kind of focal plane, if you like, away from the rest of the foreground, so it kind of makes more sense. So I had to have a little play around with the shapes and stuff like this, because this foreground element is all currently one element, and I'm going to put this on its own layer, maybe slightly change the color ever so slightly. So I'm going to make it black first of all, and then decide what color it's going to be. Just going to take away this bottom area here, so that shows in the background. And I've decided now that the foreground should have a slight gradient on it. It's the only part of the image, of the 2D parts of the image, that will have a gradient on it. So I'm going to use the gradient picker tool here. I'm going to pick a colour from there to a slightly darker colour. So it will go from dark at the bottom to the colour of the hut. And now we have a gradient in the foreground that's really dark and leads in towards the hut. Then the hut's on its own kind of layer, and then Luke is on a layer a little bit further away from the camera where we're at the moment. Hope that makes sense. Now time to start adding more layers in the background, even further away. We're going to have some more mountains, some more hilly areas. These are obviously going to be on their own sort of plane, if you like, further away from where Luke is, so they're going to be slightly lighter, so they're further away. And I'm just using the lasso tool for this, just hand doing it with my mouse. Actually, I've got a trackpad. I'm on my laptop at this point. And just randomly creating background elements, hills, all that kind of stuff and I'm just slightly changing the saturation and brightness of the same color. The hue does not change, so throughout this image it's going to all look very similar, very uniform. Hope that makes sense. And now I'm going to create the sun. To do this very simply with an elliptical tool, holding down shift so it gets the perfect circle. And we'll add a second one as well, because Tatooine obviously has 2 suns. These are filled in with slightly different colours. Obviously, with one sun's further towards the horizon, it's going to look slightly different, so the colours are going to be slightly different. Going to add a glow to these just with a brush, quite large, with linear dodge mode, blending mode, just in the background of the sun there. So it's going to have a nice little glow to the background. Looks pretty cool. I'm going to add a smaller one just on top, a lighter colour, just to give it a little bit of a glow inside as well, just to give it more of a sun looking glow. Very subtly I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the other one, slightly different colour. Now time for the fun part. We're going to start populating this image with some stuff that you might not necessarily find on Tatooine. Certainly probably wouldn't have found on Tatooine in episode 4. But it's stuff that I want to add. So I'm adding an X-Wing into my picture. Woo! This gets positioned somewhere close as if it's flying away from us. And I'm going to mess around slightly with the size and perspective. So I'm just going to use the transform tool just to warp this a little bit more, so it looks like it's kind of going away from us really fast. That makes sense. I gave this a slightly graduated colour, again because it's fairly close to what would be the camera, and you'd probably see a slight gradient in the colour. I'm using the angle of that gradient to make the tip of the nose obviously ever so slightly lighter than the rest. Now time to add in some bad guys. Yeah, there's always bad guys. If there's an X-Wing around, there's bound to be some TIE fighters. So let's add those in. I'm going to change this to a pretty lighter colour. It's in the distance, don't forget, so everything's a bit further away. It's going to be slightly lighter than what's close up. Now to resize the image ever so slightly, just going to use the crop tool, just crop in ever so slightly to put Luke on the rule of thirds, give or take, and the TIE fighters and the sun at the top there, they're on the rule of thirds too. I just think this is a more pleasing aspect ratio, if you like. I decided now to change the foreground, just to give it a not so straight foreground. The rest of the picture is hilly and all over the place, so the foreground elements, I decided to add a little bit of texture to them. So there's always one main guy, main bad protagonist. This is a TIE Interceptor. Just going to add the silhouette for just prosperity reasons, no other reason at all than I just wanted to. And then I decided to rejig, take out one of the TIE fighters in the background. So there's only 3 main bad guys really, I didn't want 4 in there. And this is the image. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please whack a thumbs up. If you want more like this content, please subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get updates every time I upload a new video. That'd be fantastic. And until the next one, see you soon. Bye! Still here, nice. It's good that you're still here because I want to tell you a little something. Those people who are avid followers of me, I want to give a little something back, and to do that it means working alongside you online, because a lot of you can't make it to my workshop. So I've just set up a Patreon account. It is patreon.com/Andy Hornby Photos. So Patreon is a platform where we can create stuff together, even if you're halfway across the globe, and I can learn and teach alongside you, literally alongside you. There's so many things I can do to help you get your photography just to that next level. It is awesome. If you can make it to one of my workshops, I've got a website. Go to ahphotographyworkshops.uk and have a look, see what I've got going on. But if you can't make it to one of my workshops, Patreon is a really good platform where we can create stuff together and we can take your photography to another level. So if you like what I'm doing and you want me to learn alongside yourself, see you there. Take it easy. Have a good day. Bye.